Okay, so thank you, Neilson, for coming here today to talk to us a bit about your experience with your Huntington's diagnosis and your feelings about the research that we're running at Cardiff. So if you just want to maybe start by telling us your name and a bit about yourself.
Name's Neilson Smith. I'm 42 years old. Currently live in just outside the Pontypridd area.
When did you discover you were HD positive?
First learnt about the condition in the late 90s when my mother was diagnosed. Obviously, resulting from the information we were given at that point, it was understood that there was a 50-50 chance that I myself could have the condition as well. At the time I was completing my PGCE in teaching, moved up to Nottingham, and it was probably 2004 when sort of decided to go through the process, being as it was 12 months long, because obviously there was a view at that point of starting my own family. Obviously there is a knock-on effect to that happening.
So were they your first thoughts when you were diagnosed? What was going through your head?
I had a lot of information. I'd done a lot of research, obviously with my mum having the condition, so it wasn't as though I wasn't aware of the consequences and what that meant. I'd already at that point made my mind up about having the test in order to be able to start a family, which obviously then meant having to, at that point, go down to St Guy's and Thomas down in London in order for the genetic IVF to begin.
How do you think the knowledge of possessing or having the HD gene impacts your everyday life?
It's weird, I guess. People say they understand or that they can appreciate what it is, even if they have a small understanding of the type of condition it is. I don't fully think that they understand. My sister's the same. She's very mindful, but she doesn't have to think in the same way. As I always said, looking at my mum's like looking in the mirror, because I know that's going to be me. So the decisions I make now are affected and will affect things that happen in 5, 10, 15 years. And people don't have to think about that. I said it would end with me. And if a girlfriend, a partner, whoever it was in your life at the time wasn't going to appreciate where I was coming from, then I guess it was going to be a stumbling block. And that proved to be the case with myself. So yeah, it does affect your thinking.
Moving on then to the research that you've been involved in at Cardiff University. So you were in my previous MRI study and you're in the current MRI study.
Indeed.
So you're seasoned. So when did you first become involved with the Cardiff University research? Not just the MRI side of things.
It was with my mum. My mum decided that she'd use herself as a guinea pig when it was set up in the old hospital in that little corner, as it was then. It isn't as grand as it is now in this building. So yeah, she made a conscious effort to be willing to try out any new medications that would help with tremors and things. I believe there was a Canadian and a German research teams had come over, and she had put herself forward, so I took her down for that to assist her. And she was of the mind that, anything that they can do, any promotion, anything like that, it was only going to help future people, because at that point very little was known about it. People were looking for a cure, but I guess miracles may happen, but I think it's going to take a lot longer than people think. So unless people like myself and my mum put themselves forward, then people like you can't do research into it. So
absolutely, it's so valuable what you do. And then so when you came to Kubrick, how long ago was that now?
About 18 months ago, I think, the first one was over in the old building. Because at that point I think a lot of the stuff that I'd researched and looked into, they were looking for not just information on cures, but also possible blockers and triggers and other things along the line in the early stages of the disease, and whether there was a possibility they could find things that would prevent it from progressing on. So I guess a lot of the research then was to find the triggers within the brain and various different things like that. So and that's where this came into, I guess. When I can, I get there annually. I've been about 4 or 5 times already this year to pop down, and the information they got there is brilliant. You know, they got all the leaflets. I don't necessarily think it's as widely known as it could be. Then again, there's so many conditions, and everyone's fighting for that attention and all for the funds, I guess, for research to be done. But yeah, it in terms of sort of the everyday life impacts, family, friends, and things like that. They've got a lot of information, a lot of help and support that is put in place for families in order to be able to deal and come to terms with something as like this.
So, how do you think myself or Jess or any of the other people you've worked with in this research, how do you think they've helped you to understand HD, the researchers themselves rather than the nurses?
I guess it's coming from more like the scientific side of things, isn't it? It's like it's easy to sort of, yes, the condition does this and it has this impact on you physically, and you know, the family side, which is what the clinic does with yourselves, is sort of getting it to understand it more on the, I guess, the anatomy side of things, exactly what triggers what in terms of like the proteins and the genomes and various things involved. And that fascinates me, to be honest. I gotta be honest. So yeah, that is something that it sort of takes in a slightly deeper level of information, and having people like yourself who can sort of relate that, I guess, to the common person like me, then that can only be a good thing. So and if it generates interest, which it has in myself, then it can only be a good thing, because you know, I tell anyone to give it a go, put yourself forward, because you're only going to benefit you and benefit others in the long run. So yeah, it's been a good experience so far.
Absolutely. So I know you do a number of cognitive tests when you come into Kubrick, being part of the School of Psychology.
Mm-hmm.
You do the same sort of tests over and over again. Do you find that's quite informative, the things that we're looking at? Do you think that gives you an idea?
It fits in with a little bit, like with the P side of what I've done with my job in respect. You learn that, you know, there are certain tests that have to be done because they are standardized tests in order to be able to sort of measure and compare different people, and therefore you're also looking to sort of find out if there are other tests that could be done that could become a standard test in order to sort of help detect early sign signals and of the disease. So yeah, it's not boring. I don't find it boring at all. Repetitive, yes, but that's the way it has to be, because otherwise you can't compare one person with another, or this study with that study. So it has to be that way. So yeah, it can be fun. Frustrating, but it's fun as well.
So what areas of research or therapies would you personally like to see developed?
I was interested in the new wonder drug that's going around at the moment. I didn't miss that. When I heard
Ionis,
that's the one, yeah.
What's going on now?
That'd be something that I would love to be involved with if that gets spread out. So in the next year or two, anything really. A cure might be years down the line, but if there's anything that can be done in the meantime in terms of drug related, or even, as I said, the triggers, finding out early triggers, changes within the brain or changes within the body, and is there anything that could delay those, I think that would probably, in my mind, be of greater benefit and more likely to be something that could be done in the next sort of 10-15 years, because that would help to sort of slow down the onset of the disease, so that by the time it gets to the point where it's physically restricting you in your life, then that won't be the case at all. By the time that actually kicks in, you're going to be in your 80s at least, because it has that delaying effect, and that can only be good then for people to live a long healthy life without it really affecting their everyday things.
Absolutely. So you're involved in the exercise study before, and now you're involved in the brain training study that we're running now. So these non-medicinal therapeutic interventions, how do you find that sort of research? Do you think the lifestyle factors that you can change, do you think maybe they might be the way forward?
Definitely, lifestyle, environmental, all of those do have an impact. Just in the same way with people with their